Hello everyone and welcome back for another episode of Indie Impressions. My name is Nick and today we're going to be checking out Fez. Yes, I know this is quite a while after this was released and probably everyone watching has already seen or has some idea what Fez is about. But I just sort of wanted to take a moment to speak on it since it's a game that I found very influential and very beautiful and very worth playing. Also, just in case one of these episodes off into the future ends up being seen by someone, I don't want them to miss out on this. You never know how long YouTube's going to be around, so maybe in 10 years somebody's going to come across this video and go, hey, I never heard of this. What's this all about? Regardless, I like to look at some of these episodes like a platform to speak on games that I find particularly interesting at times. So, this is going to be one of those. So Fez by Polytron Corporation is a three-dimensional shifting 2D platform game with no form of conflict as far as combat goes, which is something that I really resonate to. And that's one of the reasons that I find this game so compelling. Anyway, let's just get right into things so you can see it firsthand, because you kind of have to see it to understand exactly what it's about. So this debuted on Xbox Live Arcade. This is, though, the PC version. This is my first time starting it up on PC, so hopefully things go fairly smoothly. I would assume that given all this time that they've had between the release of one and the other, that the bugs should be mostly worked out. There was actually a pretty nasty bug on the XBLA version that was killing people's saves, and it was said that the developer wasn't able to pay to patch it because Microsoft required like $150,000 to make a patch for XBLA or something like that. Anyway, I thought that was pretty ridiculous, so I certainly hope that that is not a factor here. So here we are, we're this little marshmallow-looking guy named Gomez, and he's got a sweet drum set with the Polytron Corporation logo on the front of it. So we can press up to enter a door. Let's do that. At the beginning, there's almost nothing particularly out of the ordinary about this game, aside from it just being a very beautiful, atmospheric platformer. But the big thing comes from when Gomez finds his Fez, hence the name, and things start to open up a bit. So essentially, we are a 2D protagonist in a 3D world, and we're the only one that can conceive of such an idea, which makes for some very interesting puzzles. So let's walk up to the mailbox, press X to read mail. Dear Gomez, please meet me at top of village. I have something very important to tell you. Today is special day. Geezer. Alright. So one of the things I love about Fez is that basically everywhere you are in this entire game, you could pretty much just hang out there and call it your home. Like, there is nothing particularly compelling you to move forward or rush ahead. The game takes place at your own pace. You can explore however you want in a what turns out to be absolutely massive scope game, which you probably wouldn't expect from looking at it at the beginning. You would think, well, something this pretty, obviously, how much can one developer make in terms of art assets? Well, it turns out quite a lot. This game took, I think, several years to make, and it shows. I'm going to try not to spoil anything particularly amazing. I have actually not 100%, but I've finished the game with the intent to 100% it, and I think I left off somewhere around 75-80% or something. Like I said, the game's pretty massive and requires quite a bit of dedication. It actually turns out to be much, much deeper than you would expect as well in terms of the way that you have to discover the answers to some of the puzzles. But again, I'm not going to spoil anything, and I'm certainly not going to talk about stuff that happens towards the end of the game. Because this is definitely one of those journeys that's worth taking for each individual person. So, there you are, Geezer says. Today's special day. Adventure time is ready, yeah. What time is it? It's adventure time! Anytime now. Just you wait. There you go. What is all of this business? My 360 controller's rumbling like mad. I probably would recommend that you use a 360 controller since it was designed to natively support that. I'm sure the PC controls are probably passable as well, considering there's not a ton to worry about in the game, but still, probably easier to just use this. So now we're introduced to the fact that there could be 3D objects existing in this 2D plane. I believe the cube is actually speaking to us, which is a little creepy. Aside from just the cheery aesthetic and the sort of happy ambient vibe, there is also quite a bit of mystery to this game, as well as a few references to other things, which I find quite compelling as well. The fact that you can take something so generally just cute and make it look, juxtaposed with something so strange and obscure as a block pulling us through space and causing our game to glitch out. It is definitely a unique approach, and it was handled in a very nice way in this game, I find. So these glyphs are the language of this cube, and you can hear it furiously talking to us in a language that is completely incomprehensible. Well, I don't know if it's furiously talking, but it seems like it's talking very quickly anyway. So Geezer called us up to the top of our platform there to take us up into space, to talk to an extraterrestrial cube of some sort, to then impart us with this beautiful spinning red fez. Why it's a fez? Not actually sure. I don't think they ever answer that question, or maybe they do and I just forgot. Anyway, it's a pretty powerful thing, and I'm sure you could make an argument that is a metaphor for something that we could experience in our real lives, some form of revelation or gestalt, if you will. Use left and right trigger to change perspective, and oh my goodness, we can spin this cube around so fast until it breaks. That is the literal mind-blowing of our character right there. You can see his mind shattering. And I'm sure this has confused quite a few people. The first time they see it, they wonder, why is my game breaking? Why are we rebooting? Why is there a BIOS startup sequence here? Must have been even more confusing. Like, if you've ever seen Indie Game, the movie, Phil Fish, the developer, ends up talking at length about how, essentially, when they tried to demo this game out, I think it was at PAX, it would constantly break. So, like, there's this sequence where the game also breaks, but it's intentional, and sometimes it breaks, but it's not intentional, so you gotta sort of find the balance between those two things until the bugs head down to be patched. Thankfully now I think we can pretty much say with a good degree of certainty that that was no bug, it was just the way the game is meant to be seen. I love the Zelda reference on the poster there, minus the title. Very cute. So now, this room we were in a moment ago, which was flat, has depth. Everything that looked flat, you can see around, which is a pretty cool mechanic, and this is basically the fundamental reason that Fez becomes such a unique and compelling experience, because every single screen in the entire game has full three-dimensionality to it. As you can see, they're taking care to highlight that pretty effectively right now. But beyond just the beautiful art style, of course, there's an excellent soundtrack, wonderful sound effects, and a general sense of just warm, comforting ambience that pretty much escorts you through the whole game. There are some moments that are a little bit more forbidding, and definitely some moments that are borderline spooky as well as eerie, and a few other descriptors like that. So I don't even know what we call this thing. It's folding upon itself like a Mobius strip, but it's a cube. I'm sure it has a name. It's Hypercube? I don't know. I'm sure I've heard it before, but I don't remember what it is. Something went wrong. I need your help. I was sent to guide you. I am Dot. Oh, a hexahedron. The hexahedron has been fragmented, shattered, and scattered all over the world. You must restore it. Without it, everything will collapse. You have received a gift. A great secret has been revealed to you. There is a world beyond your village, and dimensions beyond the ones you occupy. And they are not kidding when they say that. This door leads to the outside world, but for now, it is sealed shut. The marking on it indicates that it won't open until you've collected at least one cube. There are many such doors in this world, each requiring more cubes than the last. To reach the end of this journey, you will need to find all 32 cubes. That's a lot of cubes, I guess. Well, we don't know how hard it is to get cubes yet. But apparently it's not all that hard. Well, there's cube bits that make up cubes, and then beyond that there's even more stuff. So when it says 32 cubes, that's honestly not the entirety of the game. It is just one sense of progression that you can have, and the map for this is absolutely enormous. I didn't complete it 100% like I said, but I had dozens upon dozens of different areas to explore. And one of the things that I find is really great about this game is just that you don't ever feel like you're totally stuck in a puzzle where you have to grind your or beat your head into it until you eventually just figure it out or give up. No, there's usually a number of different ways to progress that you haven't explored yet. I'm sure when you get down to the final few puzzles, yeah, you might have that feeling, but for the majority of the game, it's not like that. Together they'll form a full cube, which you can use to unseal the door. Find them. Okay, we can do this. So, exploring the world in 3D manner, we will find lots of cubes. Quick recap, shiny golden cubes, very important, gotta find them all, or else the universe collapses with you in it. No pressure, and remember, use right and left trigger to change your perspective. Now get going. So this is a game that a lot of people have said, and I probably agree with them on this front, that it is probably not a good idea to try to do a blind Let's Play of, and honestly, I wouldn't have even wanted to attempt doing an impressions video of this had I not already played the game through to, like, the first sense of its completion. I feel like I'm fairly qualified to talk about the game, having experienced more than half of it. But, you know, for those of you out there who might be Let's Players or who might have been interested in this game and just never really spent much time with it, I will tell you it is absolutely phenomenal, but you probably don't want to try to play this game blind for an audience. It's going to be really frustrating. You'll spend a lot of time just wondering where you're supposed to go, in a good way, but still, the audience is probably going to want to see straight progression. So unless you're really into editing, which maybe you are, I don't know. I shouldn't speak for you. But I'm just saying the likelihood of me playing it for a Let's Play pretty slim, even though I've solved most of the puzzles already. It doesn't seem like a thing that would be a good idea for me anyway. So, we will continue to explore this little island long enough to at least get the first cube and open up that door. I don't intend to make a ton of progression here. This was essentially just for me to speak on the topic of Fez. To open it, must face the front and press X. Alright, where's the front? I thought it was at the front, actually. Yeah, it was. You've got lots of bombs. You've found a key. We are now key rich. Keys can open any locked door, but can only be used once. And that is all we have to say about that. So let's continue to find some cubes hidden in the nooks and crannies around this building. I can also go in all these doors, by the way. I've just chosen to forego exploration for the sake of this video. I don't want to spoil things, although in this case I will have to actually do a little bit of exploration. I love the details like that. You can walk on top of this lamp. Little things like that. You can stand on these shelves. Everything that you can see that makes sense to have depth actually is a platform. And when I was watching an Indie Game the Movie, when Phil was doing the coding for this stuff, like, he was handcrafting pixel textures and, like, adding depth on an individual level to each block on each area in each world that makes up Fez. So the amount of time spent on this game is absolutely enormous, and the level of detail absolutely shows, and the intricate design work is all completely present. I'm sure there are plenty of details that were replicated, but there is a lot of going back in and doing handcrafting and adding things you might not think are a big deal back into the game. I saw this when I was playing this the first time on XBLA, and I thought this was a call out to Super Meat Boy, but maybe I'm mistaken here, because I know there is a character that looks a little bit like this in Fez, but the dude on the left here looks a little bit like Super Meat Boy. The dude on the right looks a little bit like Dr. Fetus. Maybe I'm reading too far into things. It's like an evolution chart on the wall. It's really cute little touches like that. And they're positing the idea of three-dimensional space in this theoretical little diagram here. And so when you stand over a door, you get a preview of what that area is going to take you to. And that doesn't seem like it would be a thing that you would need at first, but once you realize the scope of the game world, you do need it. There are definitely some times when I have absolutely no idea where I was going. I was using the map to guide me, but from one area to the next, if I didn't have those little previews, I would have spent a lot of time confused. Alright, so where do we have left? What, two more cubes? I think we can handle this. And I've got that key, so I'm sure that'll pay off at some point. There's still a few doors I believe I haven't opened up yet. There's one. Oh, and there's that little chime thing that shows up every now and then to let you know if you missed something. I don't believe it always does that, but I guess when you get down towards the end of, you know, exploring an area, maybe like the last 10% or something, it seems to want to show you what you might have missed to sort of speed up the process. Because, you know, there is that scavenger hunt element where if you have no idea where you're supposed to be going, you don't even know where to start to look, and there's the last cube just hanging out there. You can also rotate the world when you're falling through the air, so that could be kind of a useful thing to do. You stop time, in essence. So there we go, there's our first cube. And we've got our achievement for that. We did it! Hooray! Now we can unseal the door, let's go. and I will not dawdle. Controls are exactly as you'd expect them to be, by the way. It's just A to jump, right and left trigger to move the world around, and there are also some other buttons. We've got our options menu here, which I neglected to go through at the beginning like I so often do. Language settings, video settings. Happy to see it does support a wide range of resolutions. And oh, I should probably just show you. There are our controls, and then we can also do keyboard in case you're interested. Reset look makes me wonder, is there like a free look option? I don't think so. That would be pretty cool though. It said there's an inventory. There is, but it's not a big deal. It's not like you deal with pickup items the way you would in an adventure game. I actually don't even have it yet, so I can't really show it off. Oh, yeah I do. Okay, there it is. I forgot it was on Y. So there's a number of different things here. Cube shards, and a bunch of various items that show up, treasure maps rather, artifacts, and none of this means anything yet, and there's just this blank face, which is actually something, but you have to unlock it. I don't think that counts as a spoiler, I didn't say what it was. So down we go to the bottom floor, open a door, get a mysterious sound effect. The door is unsealed. By the way, there is a full day-night cycle that is persistent through, I believe, all screens, although I could be wrong. I know a few of the screens are actually sort of covered by weather effects or are underground, so you may not actually see, the transition from day to night. The door is unsealed. Are you ready to begin your adventure? Yes, I am. Oh, you can actually move around this viewpoint with the right stick. I didn't even notice that until just now, and then recenter it with clicking the right stick. I guess that's what it meant by reset viewpoint. Hey, listen! It's another Zelda reference. I know this is your first time outside the village, so if you get lost, you can use the world map. Press back to bring up the world map. Alright, I'm not going to be lost for a little bit yet. There's a lovely tetraminos in the background in the sky as constellations. And we can just traverse around the edges here. Some faces which look a bit like castle crashers, maybe, up on these towers. Could be wrong about that, but that's what they sort of look like to me. So this is where you start to get the idea that what we're doing here is actually bending our perspective by rotating in this direction. Normally this jump is basically inaccessible, and they had the foresight to actually have this land you back at the beginning so you don't even die. Although dying is not really a huge deal, there's not really a penalty, you just get reset to the last ledge you were standing on, but you can't really use it to cheat or anything, so don't get the wrong idea. There are some instances, though, where I actually did run into a bug where I was able to manipulate falling, not so much dying, but just falling in general, to find my way up onto an invisible ledge. I'm wondering if that was something that was intended to be done, or maybe I just found a glitch or an exploit or something. But I just thought that was kind of a funny little detail, and there are a number of things like that that you can do if you understand how the game works. But for the most part, it's very well thought out. The puzzles are all... I don't want to say tasking, but they generally require you to think in some way that you probably wouldn't expect at first to have to think in. Which is partially why I like this game so much, because it really does things that you wouldn't expect. And then it's constantly giving you positive reinforcement. There's very rarely a time when you'll play Fez for any reasonable amount of time and go, oh, well, I didn't accomplish anything, better quit and be frustrated. So we've opened up door number 2, and what is behind door number 2? More doors. Well, that is kind of the way this game works. You open up progress gates to be revealed to more progress gates until you've explored a massive map. And if that frustrates you, then I guess there is a chance that that might not be your favorite element of this game, but hopefully the aesthetic and the music and the visuals and just in general the this chill atmosphere of this game would keep you engaged in it. So let's have a look around this mysterious laser tower, shall we? Oh, no way, it's another door. I told you there'd be lots of doors. This one requires 4 cubes. That one 8, that one 16, and I think you get the idea. Let's place some kind of important door place. Oh, I don't know. That's why you're here. Now go find them cubes. There's also a slight bit of humor to the game. It definitely takes itself seriously at the times when it needs to, but it also is reasonably lighthearted for most of it. So you don't ever really feel like, aside from the moments when they're trying to purposely establish atmosphere, there's not generally this feeling of like impending dread or like pressure. You can pretty much just play the game at your own pace, like I said earlier. Oh, and one more thing. If you press Y, it'll bring up your inventory. The inventory keeps track of the things you'll find. Now I'm done, I swear. That is true, actually. The cube thing doesn't really show up too often to be annoying, although I don't find it particularly annoying. More helpful, but if you're one of those people that gets bothered by having interruptions with dialogue or monologues or what have you, it's not an issue, really. So I guess we have a very brief loading screen here as we bring in the next area. In a sort of Mario 64-esque manner, we give a little bit of a foreshadow of what the next area to come is. You'll notice there are a couple of little frame rate hiccups here. This is just because I'm recording with Fraps and I saw fit to try to set this to 60 frames per second. It is actually a reasonably tasking game, believe it or not. I'm sure if you run it, you know, without recording software, though, you'll do much better than I'm doing right now. So basically what we would do when we get to a new area, I generally just sort of like to take a quick survey of what the landscape looks like, what I can reach, what I can jump to, rotate around a few times, see what doors there are that are accessible. I can even jump in the water if I want to and do a little bit of exploring that way, although for the most part there's not really a whole lot to see in the water. You will notice in the background there's a lighthouse with red and white stripes on it. We can actually go back there and explore that if we choose to. In fact, pretty much everything you see in the foreground or background, there is a chance, or, well, pretty good chance, that you'll be able to actually go there and visit it. And every single new place you go is another point on your map. So the sense of exploration is really what keeps me pulled into this game, as well as the absolutely beautiful art. I mean, just look at the sky here. This is lovely gradient, these pinks fading down into orange, fading down into magenta, red. It's visually very striking. I don't think a lot of people would argue about that, unless they just particularly don't like 2D game aesthetics, which I know there are some people out there that feel that way. I am not one of them, as you probably could guess by now. Oh, this little kitten that wants to play with this butterfly, it's so cute. The animations have so much character to them, and there's not a ton of detail as far as the actual characters go, but there's just enough that it totally keeps you pulled in. Now, there's a ladder right there that we could use to climb back out of the water if we needed to. So, I mean, this is essentially what Fez is about. It's a lot of exploration, looking for cubes, trying to understand how to navigate this very confusing at times, but very exciting game world. And in general, you're just going to be just looking to see what you can even find, because you don't know where this adventure is going to go. I mean, the whole thing is sort of up in the air. There's very little in the way of setup and premise. You get this cube, or this Fez, rather, which sits on your head, and that's kind of as much as you know about the setup. From there, it's all new, which is something that I do actually quite like, the fact that you really don't know what to expect as you go on. It actually gives the developer free rein to do just about anything. That cute little, I don't know if it's a blue jay or a titmouse, either way, it's adorable. He's gonna go flying away. So we can use the multiple sides of this tree to traverse up through the vines and other nooks and crannies. I think this is as far as we get to go on this particular journey. And through another door. It's kind of like a giant fun house in a way. Oh, and this is one of those lovely things that you don't see in every screen, but there are actually areas that have like these little shader effects over top of everything. It reminds me a little bit of like Secret of Mana. There was that forest where everything had clouds over it. I think that actually happened in Zelda as well, Link to the Past. So by rotating our perspective, you can see that there are certain platforms we can reach and others that we cannot. So essentially, we're just going to keep looking for different angles to try and progress upward and onward. There's a few cute little birds there. Saw an owl go flying by, and it's going to become daylight again. Our hexacube thingamajig is going to tell us, I wonder what this is. Yeah, I wonder as well, what might that be? I don't know, maybe we'll find out later. Must have been such a pain to design these level designs. Like, I mean, it maybe not a pain per se, but like tasking to just try and come up with all these different angles to view gameplay at. This room seems awfully bare. Doesn't seem to be a whole lot going on in here. Well, maybe there'll be something later. Let's go back out. Oh my. Alright, well, if we go back out, apparently we won't go to the same place. And we might just be struck by lightning, so we gotta be careful. We've inadvertently discovered a new area just by turning around inside of that little cabin. That was actually the way that was supposed to work. But nice that you could see a different sense of ambience, because it's not all happy cheerful, although a lot of it is. And another little loading screen as we progress on to a much larger... I don't know if overworld is the right way, maybe it's like a hub? Well, mostly every area in the game is sort of like a hub, and you can see there's that cube there that's rotating that has one face revealed in it. Those are sort of like transport points that we unlock as we progress forward. This might give you a bit of an idea of what some of the level design looks like going forward from here. It's very ornate, actually. It's very pretty. And a lot of detail going on in it. So I don't know if you've... Whoops. Oh, totally messed up that jump. I don't know if you've noticed, but as the lightning strikes, you can actually catch the platforms being revealed as silhouettes to the left and right of this larger hanging platform. I mean, nothing's bound by gravity, which definitely helps in terms of level design as well. You can really go nuts with it when that is the concept. Not sure I want to linger here for too long in case those lightning strikes are going to get annoying in the background. And look at this, this owl can rotate his head all the way around like a proper owl does. And I'm going to keep rotating, although I think I'm doing it wrong. Am I supposed to go this way? I actually don't remember how to solve this puzzle. Anyway, that is something to do with his head rotating, is what we do with that. There are a lot of really mysterious hidden alcoves that you won't pick up on your first time passing through an area, which is part of, again, why I love this game so much, because there's so much depth that's revealed as you move on. And when you combine that with how many hundreds of different screens there are, you're going to spend a lot of time just exploring and taking in the atmosphere. This is, just so you can see, the very, very beginning of the map. Let's zoom out a bit. So it didn't seem like we traversed a whole lot, but this actually is quite a bit, and all of these gray cubes are actually areas that will likely branch off into more areas and will continue to branch off. The world map, like I said, is absolutely enormous. This does not even begin to give you a hint of how big this area is. Gold plating on a node means you found every item, secret, or passage in that node, so there are very few of those available at the moment, and your goal, of course, is to make them all that way if possible. It's really nice, actually, that you can sort of check off all of these boxes one by one, so you don't feel like, you know, you're just going to be endlessly meandering through the world map without ever finding everything. And there are also some other symbols. You can see on the bottom left there's a legend there. So we've got a warp gate on that one, we've got cube bits to find, it looks like, and it will indicate if there's treasure or a secret. Although I think some of the secrets are much harder to grasp than others. So there are times when I've actually seen a thing say there's a secret and had absolutely no idea what to do with that information. Whoa. Oh. Again, screwed that jump up. So, I think without belaboring the point too much, I feel like I've gotten my point across. Fez is absolutely a game that everyone that has even a passing interest in puzzle platformers should try. Even people who don't, this might be the type of game that could open you up to the possibilities of that subgenre. And I think it is fairly accessible in that you don't really get punished if you mess up. So there's mostly just forward progression in this game, although, like I said, some of the puzzles can get at times a bit tasking on you if you get frustrated rather easily. So I'm sure you've noticed I keep going around in circles. That's because I was neglecting to jump on these invisible platforms, which are the way that you're supposed to progress upward. Which side has the next one, though? That's the question. Not that side. Is it this side? There it is. Well, and if the lightning wasn't enough for you, you can actually also look very carefully. You'll see there are some actual particles striking on the invisible floating blocks, so you can see them regardless of if you're turning in the right direction. I was just not doing that. Oh, come on. I just want to make it to the top of this and go to the warp gate. I keep losing the positioning every time I turn. Can I go this way? I think I can. There we go. And then flip this around. Back up. the sense of momentum when Gomez jumps is a little bit off-putting sometimes. You do have to get used to it, but it's nothing particularly difficult. He just tends to be a little bit slower than a lot of the protagonists that I've played in most platformers. You'll notice the trees here are all of different heights, so you can actually capitalize on that element. And there we go, I actually just made another cube just by rotating the world around. So if I head on over to this, I can actually press up, and I forgot where this is going to take me, the blue area, obviously. I know my commentary is so compelling. Let's go to the blue area. And it's not even blue when I get there, it is hot pink. That's okay, it's just getting dark out. So I think we'll take this moment to wrap it up, guys. Thank you so much for watching. As always, remember to check out this game. I definitely recommend it. If you haven't played Fez by now, aside from the cost, there's almost no excuse. This is a game that we all need to experience. Anyone who loves indie games definitely should try this out. It's not particularly expensive, but it's not super cheap either, so I definitely think the price is worth it. The value proposition here is outstanding. You're going to get, I don't know, like 8 to 10 hours on your first playthrough. Maybe that... It depends how completionist you play it through. I think I definitely spent easily 10 hours on it, but I could imagine if you try to rush, you could probably knock the thing out in 5 and have about the minimalist, or the smallest amount of secrets found. And of course, Gomez needs to go to sleep in our idle animation there. So yeah, that's going to do it. As always, remember to check out the website, where I have all the old episodes of the series archived neatly for your perusal. I've got over 400 of them. They're all sorted and tagged. So if you want to check out games specifically by platform, genre, if you have a favorite developer you want to check out, type them in the search box over there. It's indie-impressions.com. Also got some forums. If you want to start a conversation or join a conversation, meet some cool people with similar interests, that is always a possibility for you. Other than the website, though, we've got facebook.com/indieimpressions. If you'd like to take a second, leave a like over there. It helps me out, and then you'll get every day's new Indie Impressions episodes delivered into your Facebook stream, as well as occasional channel updates. I usually let you know when I'm streaming over there, do contest game giveaways and such. So it just takes a second if you want to visit, but it's entirely up to you. I don't know if a ton of you use Facebook, so... just for those of you who still do, I've kind of moved on, for the most part, to Twitter myself, which brings me to my next point. At RockLeeSmile, if you want to hit me up on Twitter, I tweet very frequently, and I also tend to announce when I'm streaming over there as well, so whatever's more convenient for you. Also, if you're an indie developer and you'd like to get in contact with me about the possibility of showing off your game on the channel, a quick way to reach me is to either send me a tweet, or I also have a contact form over on indie-impressions. Somebody said one time, I thought you were saying indie hype and impressions. No, it's hyphen, like, it's sort of like the dash, but the other one. Anyway, you get the idea. Please do give this game a look up. The download, or purchase link is going to be available right in the description of this video, as well as all my social media links, so in case you missed anything because I talk so freaking fast, that is one way you can catch up on anything that I might have said. But that is it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. As always, please do come back again tomorrow for another episode. I do a new one every single day without exception. I do probably want to cover a few other kind of big, more prestigious sort of indie games that I've found to be very influential to me on the series. So, you know, expect a few more of those, but for the most part, lots of rather unknown, obscure, generally not so covered on YouTube indie games, and ones that sometimes have absolutely no coverage aside from myself. I really do like to search out those strange ones. And for all accounts, I mean, essentially, if this wasn't a game that was so well received and turned out to be obscure, this would probably be, you know, I would be the first one to go after it, because this is an absolutely beautiful game and really well done on all accounts. But that is it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I will talk to you again tomorrow. Have a lovely night.